I'm noticing that people are really tired, but not apathetic. There's fear, yes, but there's like also this like deep hunger for connection and like collective care. And I don't know, that's why I'm here. I want to give people a space where they can breathe, where they can grieve, and they can remember that they're not alone. And that's what I try to do with our
Mm,
show.
mm. Now, I can't imagine that the show hasn't changed a lot in the 13 years. I think you told a little story last Sunday that mentioned a 13-year journey, and maybe there were a few years before that too.
Mhm.
Can you help us picture how it's evolved? I know the club is Harlow's. It's a small club, kind of nice, and it's been a fixture downtown for as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
Um, can you take us back to the beginning and show us how it's evolved?
So we have definitely not been at Harlow's the whole time. Sacramento has gone through so many changes, even just in the 13 years that I've been performing here. Prior to this, I started the first burlesque show in southern New Mexico. I was doing it for several years in New Mexico before. That's where I'm from. And then I brought myself here to California, and we have been at, I think we counted like 9 venues. And of those 9 venues, 8 of them are now closed. So we left venues, not usually, most of the time. Some of the times we left for other reasons, but most of the times we left a venue because they were closing. So we would establish at this place, build an audience, build this reputation, build our relationship with this venue. We would really start getting to a place where maybe I can unpucker my butthole just a little bit and feel like ticket sales are coming. We know what we're doing. We're in this flow. And then the Doco Center was built and all of these buildings got bought up and we lost Assembly and we lost Maryland's. And then we moved to Holy Diver and then they went under, they closed. So really the conversation around small independent venues surviving in Sacramento is actually a conversation that really needs to continue and needs to be had because of the lack of patronage for those spaces. But then these larger, like, music venues coming in where we're talking about over 1,000, over 2,000 capacity. And those, we have another one coming in this next year in 2026, another larger venue, and they call them mid-size, but that's over 2,000, is considered mid-size. So those are coming in, and those are more like, they're like the big dogs that come in through Ticketmaster and all of this stuff. So that really puts artists like us, local bands, cabaret shows, comedians, burlesque dancers, any kind of vaudeville or anything that creates more, needs more of like a cabaret audience. We are being left with like such little options. And
Mhm.
fortunately, we are at a really dope spot. Harlow's is great. People love Harlow's. I love Harlow's. I remember when I first moved to Sacramento and I saw a burlesque show at Harlow's, my first thought was like, man, I wish someday. I'm never gonna know what that feels like, And then, 13 years later, we've been there for several years, and
Mm.
you know, it's it's the perfect place for the kind of show that we do. We have a 300 capacity, with seating and chairs and vibes, and so we want it to be comfortable. We want people to be able to really like sit and enjoy and create a whole experience. Plus, I'm over 40 and I like having a place where I can sit down.
Um, can I ask for our less enlightened audience members and sometimes myself, can you tell us? I know there's a big difference between burlesque and like a strip club, right? But for our audience, can you describe kind of what's happening with the burlesque show? You don't have to talk about stripping or whatever, but
Oh,
like,
I yeah.
like what's happening? I mean,
Talk about the
there's some
stripping.
teasing, there's some back and forth with the audience, and so I'm just help us paint more of a picture for our audience here.
I think almost 20 years ago when I first started doing burlesque, I was still really trying to differentiate the two. I remember getting interviewed by a local newspaper and I literally the quote It's not stripping. It's more theatrical. It's classy. It's not stripping. It's classy. And this was a narrative that I think I was still holding on to as somebody who didn't fully understand the scope and the history of burlesque at that time. 20 years later, we are in a very different place. And don't I don't think that there's that much different from stripping to burlesque.
Whoa.
I think that stripping at the club is the evolution of what burlesque is. Burlesque started in gentlemen's clubs in the vaudeville circuit. It's women taking off their clothes. There's been a huge history and evolution of that. It was called burlesque and now it's called stripping. So we're all part of that same history. We're part of the same line. I'm just paying homage to maybe the older version of it with a new kind of feminist modern twist. So,
Mm.
yes, I have done lap dances. Am I doing them private in the VIP room and am I making $300 off of it? No, but I wish I was. But also, burlesque allows people who are 40 years old, plus size, never been to the club, never stripped at the club. I've been to the club, but never stripped at the club. That allows me to like also get that experience where maybe I don't have those kinds of opportunities in more like straight male focused hetero, spaces that are not
setting.
going to
Yeah.
necessarily give me that kind of space to be sexy and naked and performing. And on top of that, there's storytelling, there's really glamorous costumes, we're allowed to play with like themes and stuff like that. But at the same time, I went to a strip club and a girl was wearing a Darth Vader mask and big black boots and not really sure how much that much different than us at the burlesque show. Plus, not all shows. Like I said, I'm just kind of talking about mine because there's like a general burlesque, but then there's like our show. Our show is actually a little less theatrical and a little bit more dance heavy. And a lot of my performers are girls who worked at the club. So they're bringing in that skill set into this place. So it's the club, but we have more ownership of what we wanna play, how we wanna present, and it's a lot less about making sure that we are fitting into some kind of male gaze.
Right. Um, I wanted to ask about the performers specifically because um, mostly queer performers. I noticed the audience was heavier toward the lesbian side this last visit. Um, how are you choosing performers, and talk about what people might see if they were to come into Sacramento, downtown Sacramento,
Yeah.
for your show?
Yeah, we're right in the heart of Midtown. You know, I am very proud to say that we have cultivated a very strong queer following. I think that you're right. You did see a lot of femme presenting folks in the audience. In
Thanks for
general,
clarifying.
burlesque has tends to have a lot of that. I think there's a lot of appeal because they wanna see themselves in our bodies and through that perspective. I think that I have a lot of women who come up to me that are, um, maybe had insecurities about their bodies, be it whatever their size, and, they come and they wanna tell me that, that they feel more empowered to maybe show their body off a little more. I mean, when I first started doing burlesque, I wore an entire body stocking over my whole body, like I was like I was a never nude because I was trying to like hold in my like fat arms or something. Like I don't even know what I thought I was doing, but I went up there and with a seam that went all the way up my belly and I looked like a teddy bear and I it all was just stemming because I was deeply insecure about my own body. So there's a lot of people out there, no matter their gender or age or whatever, like in America, unless you fit into this very narrow scope of like what is attractive, you're going to be feeling some kind of way. So when you see people who look like normal people, they look like the community that we serve, there I think it does spark a little bit of like, wait a minute. is this all bullshit? Should I just like love my body? Should I just like, can we just get over this like constant distraction of low self-esteem about what I look like? Because they seem to be having a really good time up there and they see, and everybody's like cheering and clapping and praising them. So I think it does do a little something to the brain that's just like, am I brainwashed by some system of thinking that made me think that this was not accessible to someone like me? And actually it is. And, I'm a lesbian and I have been called the lesbian mayor of Sacramento. So I think that's where the lesbians come from.
Mm,
We are an all queer cast. We pick our performers. They are queer performers. And we majoritively want to be representing people of the globally marginalized. So we
right.
want black and brown performers. There are a lot of opportunities for straight, thin white women out there. And I think if they're really good ally and they're really good people and they kind of show up as a good ally, like have room for them on our stage. But it is our main priority to get
Mm,
people who look like us and that we want representing out there because it is really influential and it is really inspiring. It's not like I haven't seen a thin white woman inspire me with art and beauty. I mean, like, just like everybody else, I think Marilyn Monroe's like gorgeous and I want to emulate her makeup and her fashion on there on stage. But, this is 2026 and I think we should start idealizing people who have more than just a, stereotypical beauty to be that's all that brings value. I think we bring a lot of value with just by being loud and proud and gay.
mm. Yeah, you had two black women dancing who could not have been more different, and the common denominator being sexiness. And your wife dances, right? No?
My wife does not know. My she's actually my fiance and she comes from the women's sports world. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, why did you mention that? That's a funny detail to mention. Just the saying that she's not a dancer. She's seen you dance, I'm sure, many
Oh, yeah,
times.
she's absolutely seen me dance. Honestly, she could if she did do it, she'd probably be put us all to shame because her just joking around. I was like, "Man, I'd really love to learn how to do that, like, shuffling dance," right? And I was, like, trying to do it and holding my boobs while I do it because I can't jump that high, and she just comes in just, like, willy-nilly and starts doing it, and I'm like,
Mm,
"Oh, you fucking athletes. Are you athletes and your bodies, you just do what you they just do what you want it to do."
mm.
No, she's got great rhythm. She's wonderful, but she's not a burlesque dancer, no.
Do you have what was the question I had for you? The mayor of Sacramento thing.
Yeah.
Is Sacramento the lesbian capital of the world? I always thought it was.
It kinda feels like it. So when I was, the event director and worked on Pride for the Sacramento LGBT Center, and the year that I put Pride on, we did like a little survey that went out afterwards, and looking at all the answers, the majority of ticket holders for the Sacramento Pride is people who identify as femme and lesbian. So, in comparison to some of the other prides on the West Coast,
Mhm,
Sacramento does actually have a very heavy sapphic, like, community, very sapphic environment. So that year, we were looking like we're like, okay, so what like sapphic performers do we need to have and bring to it? Because I do think that like we need to bring in folks that are gonna be, appreciated by the community that we're serving. But yeah, we got a ton of lesbians. We just a lot of them are in their houses with raising families, and we don't always see them as much as maybe we see some of the mask presenting queers, like, at the club, because I
mm,
know that Badlands and Faces, they're great bars in town, but they are very male heavy.
mm. Yeah, those are names from the past. I didn't even know that Faces is still around, but, you know.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Can we talk about the community aspect a little more deeply? There's
Mhm.
almost like an interlude. You do these sort of Springsteen-esque talk. I guess I'm gonna guess you're not a big Springsteen fan, but
I
it
love
kind of
Springsteen. No, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. I can't wait to see this movie that's coming out.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I mean, I've also heard bad things, but that doesn't matter. The point is that you do these talks, and I can feel the audience vibing with you, and sometimes there's applause and all that. You talk about that, and it's functioning because the thing is, like, it's counterintuitive. You feel like an outsider might think that they don't go together. That it's hard to like you might be bringing the crowd down, but that's not what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's something that I've really tried a line that I've really tried to understand and toe with grace. I think that it's really easy to go up there and speak about what's happening in the world, and it can be a real downer because what's happening is shitty, and it doesn't feel good and it makes us feel scared and it can bring in a lot of fear and anxiety. And I feel it just as much as everybody else, but I also think that there's a way that we could use this collective energy to connect us. And then I want to inspire and empower people to realize that we can make those changes because at the end of the day, there is more of us than there are of them. And I am incredibly inspired by I've been listening to this audio of like all these different Black Panther party meetings where like all the different speeches from different leaders in the movement
Mm,
and um I think one of the things that I feel like was tying everything together was that there's still this element of hope. And so I want to instill hope when I'm on the microphone,
mm,
but I don't think that there's a lot of room for like this shallow optimism that doesn't actually sit well with people. I don't know if how I would feel if I went to a show in this current climate and the person was just like, girls, 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 ladies, glitter, show. I think a part of me would might feel a little guilty because what am I doing this when there's people out there fighting for their lives? But I think when we kind of show that this can be so much more than just a transaction, that it could actually be like community care, that we could actually hold space in the moment. I cry on the mic all the time. I fuck up. I say the wrong thing. I've had to apologize in the moment. Like, I don't know why I just said that. I mean, I am a real human person who's trying to do my best. And I really do think that there's like a power to showing up vulnerable as fuck. Just vulnerable. Like, I'm raw. I'm raw already. So then if I'm like, intentionally trying to put that out there, and there's a lot of power in that because I think people see that shit and they can clock it, and they can clock when they're fake, and they can clock when you're full of shit, and they can clock when you're actually about it, and so if people are feeling it and you as a newcomer come in and you're vibing and you're feeling it and you're getting it, then, like, I'm doing my job right, and I think that the easiest way to get there is just by being super honest and vulnerable.
do you have I know you and Lev were talking earlier about what's actually going on in terms of ice in
Yeah.
Sacramento. Because I had this misconception. I hadn't read that much that there wasn't as much activity, but it seems like there is.
I mean, are we Minnesota and LA and Portland? No. There's definitely obviously a lot of news coverage that's coming to that, but I follow NorCal Resist. They are a really great organization built by mutual aid and volunteers. They are not a nonprofit. This is literally like not watch watch NorCal Resist because these are the revolutionaries of our age,
Mm,
and are, um, they have La Migra Watch where they are letting us know where they are seeing ICE activity, and we see ICE activity every day. It's at
mm.
all the different Home Depots. They're hitting up grocery stores, and like I was telling Lev, they're here. Maybe somebody didn't have a camera at the moment to witness them pulling someone out of their house, but I guarantee you they're doing that shit.
Um, Going back a little bit, I'm a little curious. It's one thought that occurred to me is I hear a lot of kids talking about like mutual aid and this super progressive language. And Danelle and I think, are old enough to have experienced a lot of time when our generations didn't have that kind of language or didn't have the philosophical underpinnings of real progressive action, like in the '80s against Reagan when they were coming down on welfare recipients or fucking with other people. And so I wonder, like with you, like where do you get that education from? Like, I mean, I've read Mutual Aid by Bakhtin or whatever, the Russian theorist or political theorist. But I mean, like, like everyone seems all the young folks seem so bright and educated these days, and I don't think they got it from like high school and stuff. So where is it coming from? Is it just getting together, being community, and learning these terms and ideas together, or
I
where did
mean,
it happen for you at least?
for me, I cheated and I went to school for gender studies. So, having a degree in women's studies has certainly helped me be able to learn some of that language and learn some of the history. I also worked on getting my minor and I did a lot of cultural studies. I've done many like Black history classes. So I feel like that's given me a little bit of that academic perspective. But man, these kids are on TikTok, diagnosing themselves, learning about themselves, connecting, learning about shit like you and I, all of us, like we had to learn about American history through the propagandic books that were being force fed to us through a curriculum that had to be approved by the government. So our education is biased and it's skewed. So then these kids, they're getting some of the worst education because they have it's because teachers and schools have their parameters so fucked so that they have to go outside of their schools to learn, and that's where you start getting on the internet, and honestly, I think sure, there's a lot of stuff out there that's probably not as accurate, and you can't just listen to every single, influencer that's out there and gonna tell you how it is, but there's definitely a lot more access to that information than we ever had. I didn't even start getting on the internet until I was in college. So
Mm.
I had already had, 18 years of this very kind of small, narrow scope of how the world works. And fortunately, I was very blessed to pay for my own college that I'm still paying for, but I was very blessed to go to college. And so um, I feel like that that helped me at 18. And I think that these kids now, they also just I think that we were too busy trying to conform and not get whooped, that there wasn't as much room for us to just dive into philosophy and all of this stuff, and I was just like everybody else. I was gone. We woke up, I was gone until the sun went down and the streetlights went on, and then I was home, and I'm from a Mexican family, so we're expected to eat, clean, do your chores, and go to bed, and that was it, and now kids, they might not be getting as much of that outdoor playing time that I do think is really crucial, but I also think that they're getting a lot of time in front of a screen that's telling them a lot of stuff, and in one way, they are being more informed and more aware of what the hell's going on out there.
Mm.
Two things. One, praise be to liberal arts colleges. They get so shit on nowadays, and even if the information was skewed or if we had to write a paper that would please our particular professor and their ideological leanings or whatever, there was definitely that going on. But I mean, they get shit on now by everybody. It makes them seem like they're like completely useless, in terms
Yeah,
of building a career or whatever.
yeah,
So props to liberal arts colleges. And then also,
yeah,
it's just a good reminder too of like, maybe we're just in the beginning of this whole internet shit. We thought we had it all figured out. And now that it's like personal influencers becoming their own companies or their own institutions of learning or shared knowledge or whatever. And so now it's just like multiplying in these ways that the powers that be and other people like me, I'm kind of like, become so resistant to screen
Yeah.
stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but so I miss all that shit that's going on. But, like, my son is on TikTok, and, like, he's asking me about political stuff, before I even heard the news,
Well, I
and
mean, listen, I think that as a elder millennial, okay, I actually love the internet.
right,
I love the internet. As soon as like MySpace and all the different blogs came out, I was I was in it, I was on it, I was so interested, and, I'm of that generation where they were like, "Learn computers and coding because this is where all your job is this is where you're gonna get," and now with AI being able to code like that, those are some of the first jobs that are now gonna be taken over by these, new technology. I think that I would love to see an uncensored no, not full of algorithmic, um, you know, powers that be that are trying to like force feed advertisements and consumerism down our throats. If we took that toxic ass shit out of the internet and just let it be this place for free information exchange, like without a doubt, it is a powerful tool for that. Without a doubt, is a powerful tool to learn and communicate and create even bigger movements with it. But I think that if you have a young kid in your life, if you got somebody that is like just getting started on social media and stuff, it's our role as people who have now been through it to try to help them at least navigate how to spot propaganda when you see it, how not to get sucked into the addictive nature and that they have created this system that is addictive and has this feedback loop that keeps you going and keeps you coming back, keeps you staying up all night. I am just as guilty as these like, I saw a motherfucker walking across a busy street the other day, stop in the middle of the street, and he was looking at his phone, and it's like he forgot what he was doing
yeah.
until a car honked at him, and then he's like, "Oh, oops." And I
Yeah.
see that like, "Oh, no, this is like those sci-fi movies. This is like some They Live shit. Like, I can't do this. Like, this feels so gross." But then at the same time, if I want to get access to what's actually going on in the world, that's where I'm gonna go because 'cause I'm not gonna be able to get it from CNN, I'm not gonna get it from Fox News, I'm not gonna get it from some of our local, institutions, so it's just learning how to navigate it in a way that creates the least amount of harm until we can, I don't know, blow up the system and start over fresh with something that feels a little bit more free access. Because I
Right.
don't know if you've used Google lately, but Google's totally changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guest on talking about how we should be adding minus AI to our searches and you get a whole different thing. And I want to apologize. That was me in the streets you saw the other day.
Ah,
So
no, I'm telling you, I'm the same way. I stopped in the middle of my staircase and forgot what I was doing. I am very neurodivergent. I am
mm,
a autistic ADHD spectrum girly legend,
a
and
handful, just
I'm
a
a
handful.
I have a divergent, uh, legend over here, but, I literally will forget what I was doing already. I'll walk into a room and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, why am I here? What am I doing?" And now you put a phone in my hand?
Mhm.
Ooh, girl.
Okay. Well, speaking of divergent, you knew we were going to talk about this topic. I know that the first shows that your first half of your shows a little crisper than the second half, a little more winding anecdote after intermission. What's going on there at intermission?
I'm getting stoned as fuck in the middle of the show. Sometimes it's not always, but, there
It
has
could be
become,
always.
like well, I mean, it depends on the strain, because not I mean, if I'm if I'm smoking something I've been smoking for a while, I'm an incredibly functioning stoner. I am stoned right now. So, that's just kind of like, I live with chronic pain and with my, like, neurodivergent stuff, cannabis has been a huge part of my ability to get up and do what I'm doing up there. With chronic pain, that can be really difficult. And so, yeah, sometimes y'all are just gonna have to deal with me being a little stony baloney on stage if you want me to really be able to give it my all.
Yeah, it's
And
really good. It's good. It's
I'm
like
really happy to do it, I feel
2
like
different shows. Yeah.
it is a little, and then everybody knows too, because now what's been happening is that the audience members now give me joints at intermission, they know. So the last show that you went to last week, I I wish we could like took a
You're
picture.
like a reggae singer. You're like a
I had 3 joints at the same time. I was like, and I try to pass it around, and they keep bringing it back to me, and so, yeah, I got extra stony baloney last week, but, there was a time where my alcohol use was not at its healthiest when I was in my 20s, and, I would much rather be on the cannabis train.
Mhm.
I'm very much kinda, I'm almost California sober is what they call it these days. I haven't really been able to drink like that in a long time, so I'm grateful for cannabis. I am now eating it now, though. I'm starting to
Mm.
try to eat it and less smoking because 'cause I'm feeling that too, where all of a sudden I'm like, and I've heard my, voice change over the years of so much, smoking and
Mm.
cannabis. I've noticed, like, my octave of my voice kinda changed as I'm getting older, and I'm like,
You get a
I
little
guess
Catherine Turner thing going on.
a little bit.
Kathleen Turner. Yeah,
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite strain or are you just
Mhm.
doing it all?
Mhm. I'm, like, for sure, like, a sour diesel
Mm.
forever and ever. Any of the diesels, I like, uh, anything that kinda gives me some of that energy and that, like, mental perk up.
Mhm.
I I do I literally only take or smoke sativa I mean, indica just before bed. So if somebody gives me an indica and I don't know it's an indica, my whole brain and my body just says, "It's night time." So there's no just, like, sitting on my couch and chilling on indica. It's sitting on my couch and just like a grandpa just knocked out, you know?
It's beautiful. Um, well, if I feel like we've given the essence of what the show is like. Do you have a favorite dancer? You draw from all over. I was very fond of Abraham Lincoln, speaking of bodies that are non-traditional and exceedingly sexy. Um, do you have a favorite? Do you treat dancers more special because there are fewer of them?